If you have an account sent to collections and you can't afford to pay it, you may be tempted to ignore the debt collectors altogether. This is a popular strategy that's often promoted on social media, but if you do this, there can be serious consequences. That's the bad news. But here's the good news. You have options to deal with the debt and the debt collector. In this video, we'll discuss those options. Before we dive in, if you like this content, please remember to like and subscribe for more videos like it. I'm Ben Jackson. I work for the nonprofit Upsolve. We help people get out of debt and take control of their financial futures. Okay, let's jump in and talk about what can happen if you ignore a debt collector. First of all, your credit score will usually drop, and that can make it harder to get loans, credit cards, or even to rent a home. Now, there are several factors that impact your credit score, but your payment history is the most important. Missing payments while your account is with the original creditor will ding your score, but once it's sent to collections, it can fall even more. The second consequence of not paying a debt collector is that they'll often try even harder to contact you and collect from you. Debt collectors can call you, email you, send you written notices in the mail, and even reach out to you on social media. These are all legal ways of a debt collector contacting you, but it's important to know that you have rights and protections during this process. We'll talk about those next. Now, the third and potentially the worst consequence of not paying a debt collector is that they can sue you for that debt. And it's actually not that uncommon for debt collectors to take people to court for unpaid debt. They do this because they hope that a court will give them the right to garnish your paycheck to pay that debt. But if you get sued by a debt collector, you can respond to that lawsuit without a lawyer. And we created a video series that'll help you learn how to do just that. Now, this can all be really stressful to think about, but you're doing a great thing by educating yourself on what can happen, and more importantly, how to avoid a worst case scenario. Okay, so now that you understand the consequences of not responding to a debt collector, let's talk a little bit about your options for dealing with a debt that's in collections. One of the most common reasons that people ignore debt collectors is because they just can't afford to pay the debt. If you find yourself in this position, it might be time to explore some debt relief options. And a great place to start is by having a free consultation with a nonprofit credit counselor. They will look at your income, expenses, and your debt to help you understand which debt relief option is best for you. They may suggest a debt management plan, which will help you repay your debt with lower interest and fees, typically over about 3 to 5 years. Or they might tell you to consider Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which wipes out your debt entirely and gets you a fresh financial start. If you're somebody who wants more of a do-it-yourself option, you can also look into debt settlement or debt consolidation. And whether or not you speak with a credit counselor, our free screener can help you get some personalized guidance. It should only take you a few minutes to complete. If you want to learn more about these options, our free debt relief video series goes in depth into each, discusses the pros and cons, and gives you the information that you need to decide which option is right for you. Now, while you're figuring out what you want to try to do about your debt, you're probably still getting phone calls from debt collectors, and that can be really stressful. It can be helpful to know what your rights are during this process. There's a federal law called the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, and it gives you several protections. Let's talk about two of them. First, you have a right to be informed about the debt and to dispute it if you don't think it's right. And second, debt collectors are not allowed to harass you. What do those things mean? Starting with the first one, your right to be informed about the debt and to dispute it. This means that debt collectors have to provide you information about the amount of the debt, the original creditor, and what the process is for you to dispute it if you think that it is not your debt or that the amount is wrong. And typically, the debt collector should send you this information in the form of a written debt validation letter. A debt validation letter is a written notice that the debt collector is required to send you explaining these things within 5 days of first contacting you. Now, if you haven't received this letter, or if you need more information, you can send the debt collector a letter asking for it. And you can check out this video to learn more about that process. Okay, on to the second protection. Debt collectors are not allowed to harass you. What does that mean? This means that they can't threaten you with violence, use obscene language, make lots of calls to you just to annoy you, or call without identifying themselves. To learn more, check out our video on your rights and protections during the debt collection process so that you can understand what your options are if debt collectors violate these rules. Having a debt sent to collections can be really stressful, but you have rights and options to handle it. And if you're struggling to figure out the next steps to get out of debt, visit upsolve.org to see if our free tools and resources can help you. Thanks for watching.